Think about this for a second. You see someone, maybe they're driving a really flashy car, expensive watch.
Hmm.
You probably think, millionaire, right?
Yeah, that's the common picture.
But what if I told you the folks who actually have the millions often look pretty average, driving regular cars, buying suits off the rack.
It's a huge disconnect, isn't it?
It really is. And that surprising difference is exactly what we're getting into today on Book Talk. Finance.
Welcome, everyone. We are diving into The Millionaire Next Door, The Surprising Secrets of America's Wealthy. Great book by Thomas Stanley and William Danko.
Yeah, and it's not your typical get-rich-quick thing.
Not at all. It's based on some really solid research. They basically studied thousands of people to figure out who really becomes wealthy in America, and maybe more importantly, how they actually did it.
Right. They spent years doing surveys, interviews, really digging into the common threads, the habits, the lifestyles of people who built, significant wealth.
And often from pretty ordinary starting points, too. We're not
Yeah.
necessarily talking about inherited fortunes here.
Exactly. So how did they even define wealthy for the study? Was there a specific number?
There was. Their main benchmark was a net worth of $1 million or more.
Okay.
And that's, assets minus liabilities. They specifically excluded principal in trust funds to focus on self-made wealth.
Got it. And back when they did the research, that was a pretty small slice of the population, right?
Oh, definitely. Only about, 3.5% of U.S. households hit that mark. So a pretty exclusive group they were looking at.
But it wasn't just about the $1 million mark, was it? I remember something about relative wealth, too.
That's a really key point, yes. They introduced this idea of being wealthy in relation to your income and your age group.
Ah.
So how well are you actually converting your income into net worth compared to your peers?
That makes sense. Like the example they used, Charles and Mrs. Bobbins,
Yeah.
the fireman and the secretary.
Their income wasn't huge, maybe not what you'd call high income, but because they were so diligent, saved consistently, managed their money well, their net worth was way above average for people in their income and age bracket.
So they were kind of punching above their weight financially,
Precisely. They were relatively wealthy.
which contrasts really sharply with that other example, Dr. Ashton, was it?
The physician.
Yeah, Dr. John J. Ashton. Here's someone who is technically a millionaire by net worth and has a really high income.
Okay, so she hit the number.
He did.
Mm.
But when Stanley and Danko crunched the numbers for his income and age group,
Let me guess, he wasn't doing so great relatively.
exactly, he was actually an under-accumulator of wealth, making a lot, but not building net worth as effectively as his high-earning peers.
Wow. That really shifts your perspective, doesn't it? It's not just about the paycheck. It's about how efficient you are at building wealth.
Absolutely. And that leads directly into one of the book's core concepts, the PAW versus the UAW.
PA and UAW. Okay, break those down. Sure. PA stands for Prodigious Accumulator of Wealth. These are the folks who are really good at converting income into wealth, regardless of how high that income is.
Like Charles and Mrs. Bobbin.
Exactly. And then you have the UAWs, the under-accumulators of wealth. These are people like Dr. Ashton who might have high incomes, but their net worth is lower than you'd expect for their earnings level.
So it's really about behavior, not just income.
It's fundamentally about behavior, different approaches to money, spending, saving.
Okay, so what are those key behaviors? What separates the PAWs from the UAWs, according to the book?
Well, probably the biggest, most consistent theme is frugality.
Frugality. Okay, that word gets thrown around. What do they mean by it? Is it just being super cheap?
No, and they're careful to make that distinction. It's not about deprivation. It's more about being conscious of value, prioritizing financial independence over displaying status.
Right. Being efficient with your money, not necessarily denying yourself everything.
Exactly. It's the opposite of being wasteful, of spending just for show or out of habit without thinking about the long-term impact.
They had that example, Johnny Lucas, that typical millionaire.
Yeah, Johnny Lucas. He wasn't flashy, didn't care about luxury brands or the latest trends. His goal was financial freedom, and his spending reflected that. Very mundane tastes, actually.
Which is such a contrast to the stereotype, right? The millionaire athlete with the mansions and cars.
Who, as the book points out, often have surprisingly low net worth compared to their massive incomes. They might be UAWs, ironically.
Yeah, that data point about suits and watches always stuck with me. How little the actual millionaires spent compared to high-income non-millionaires.
It's incredible, isn't it? The high-income earners who weren't millionaires were often spending way more on status symbols like expensive suits and watches than the people who actually had the wealth.
It really drives home that point about living below your means.
Absolutely. That's another huge pillar. The research showed the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of millionaires they studied lived well below their means.
Driving sensible cars.
Often American-made, reliable cars, not necessarily luxury imports.
Right.
Buying practical clothes.
And that statistic, wasn't it something like 80% were first-generation rich?
Yeah, around 80%. They built it themselves. They didn't just inherit it, which again busts a common myth.
It really does. And they often mention the spouses, didn't they? How involved they were.
Oh, definitely. The wives, in particular, were frequently described as meticulous budgeters, planners, really partners in the whole wealth-building process.
It sounds like a real team effort built on shared goals.
Very much so. It comes back to that PA versus UAW thing. Think about their other example, Dr. North and Dr. South.
Right, the two doctors with similar incomes.
Exactly. Similar high incomes.
Mhm.
But Dr. North is the PA. He budgets carefully, plans investments, controls spending. Dr. South, the UAW, earns just as much, but spends more freely, maybe focuses more on lifestyle now rather than later, and has a much lower net worth as a result.
Even their worries were different, weren't they?
Yeah. Dr. South might worry about affording the next vacation or luxury item, while Dr. North is thinking about long-term financial security, maybe funding retirement or education. It's a different mindset.
So it really boils down to that control, that awareness.
Yes, and planning. A huge part of that control is knowing where your money actually goes.
Right. The budgeting piece.
Yeah, they found a really high percentage of millionaires could tell you pretty accurately how much their family spent each year on basics: food, housing, clothing.
Whereas the high-income non-millionaires often couldn't.
Much lower percentage for them. That lack of awareness is a big differentiator. It's hard to control spending if you don't even know where it's going.
They highlighted Mrs. Rule, the auctioneer, right?
Yeah.
Her income maybe wasn't always predictable.
Exactly. Income fluctuated, but because she was so disciplined with her budget, she knew her costs inside out. And she built significant wealth because of that control. It's powerful.
Even something as simple as credit cards showed a difference.
Yeah, that was interesting. You might expect millionaires to have all the fancy high-status cards, right? American Express Platinum, that sort of thing.
You would think so.
But nope. They mostly preferred basic Visa and MasterCard. Again, focusing on function and value, not status symbols or store cards of high interest.
It's just another piece of the puzzle, showing that focus on substance over flash.
It really is. It all ties back to those core principles. Live below your means, be frugal but not cheap, save consistently, and plan.
Okay, so we've talked about personal habits.
Yeah.
What about external factors? Did the book touch on things like getting financial help from parents?
Oh, absolutely. They dedicated a whole section to what they called economic outpatient care, or EOC.
Economic outpatient care. Okay, what's that?
Basically, it's significant financial gifts or support given by affluent parents to their adult children and grandchildren. Things like help with down payments, paying for education, regular subsidies.
This is nice, right? Free money.
Well, you'd think so, but the book argues it often has unintended negative consequences.
Really? Like what?
It can actually hinder the children's ability to become financially independent and accumulate wealth on their own. They might become accustomed to a lifestyle their own earnings can't support.
Ah, I see. They don't learn the same discipline.
Exactly. They might not develop the frugal habits, the budgeting skills, because there's always been a safety net or a top-up from mom and dad. They use the example of Marion Lamar versus a self-made sales exec.
Right. Mary Lamar got lots of help, lived in a nice neighborhood subsidized by parents, but weren't building their own net worth effectively.
Precisely. And they also talked about the montage effect.
The montage effect.
Yeah, where the gift receivers start to blur the lines between their own wealth and their parents' wealth. They don't fully internalize what they've earned versus what they've been given.
That makes sense. It could create a false sense of security or accomplishment.
It can. They contrasted Henry, a teacher who earned less but received almost no EOC and built his own wealth through discipline, with Josh, a higher-earning attorney who got regular gifts but was less financially independent.
So getting too much help can actually be counterproductive to building real sustainable wealth.
That's the book's argument, yes. It often correlates with UAW behavior patterns.
So if giving too much financial aid can backfire, how did the wealthy parents in the study, the PAWs, teach their kids about money effectively?
That's a great question. The key seemed to be instilling